Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It is finally the start of growth season here. The sun is out, the weather gets warm, which also means our trees are ready to grow again. And that also means we need to set them up in a way that they can grow the best way possible. I have 3 trees with me today. The first one you can see right here, Ficus Bonsai, and I simply want to work a little bit on those 3 trees today. Normal things that I do after winter, after cold season, after dormancy, and simply talk a little bit about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So first thing I see on this tree right away is we still have wire on it. That is something I want to remove. It probably has set in by now. This tree has had some growth through winter. Probably all of this up here has grown through the winter months. And it is about time that we simply take care of the look of this tree and also think a little bit about what we want from it during this next growth season. I can see a lot of nice ramifications starting to happen up here, so we're starting to get a nice apex. However, the leader here is getting a bit too long for my liking, and the problem is also the lower branches here, they don't get a lot of energy at the moment, and by stunting the leader up here, the tree probably focuses some of the energy again a little bit further down here. So this is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to look to an area where there is already woody bark, so roughly down here, and we cut out the top of this tree a little bit. Shorten it simply again, making the tree focus and refocus its energy a little bit. We might even stunt the growth up here a little bit, but for now, this would actually be a nice additional leader in the future, a new leader in the future, so we'll leave this at the way it is. Coming back to the wire, as I said, probably has settled in by now because there was still growth, so that means we can remove that. And I like to remove it by hand. I'm not cutting it off, which you of course could do, but I tend to reuse the wire that I'm using on my tree. And that of course is easier if you take it off like this, because then you have long pieces of wire that you can easily reuse again. And this tree is not fully cluttered, I would say, so it is quite easy to make my way around here, taking off this wire without damaging the tree. Because of course, in areas where I would fear that I might break a branch or something, I would simply cut it off, because in the end, of course, the health of the tree is more important than the wire that you can reuse. But here we have removed it. Until now, I don't see too much of any markings. I have had the problem here on this tree in the past already, that I left the wire on over the growth season and it left some markings. They already start to fade a little bit, of course, once the tree continues to grow, but still somewhat visible all the way up here on the main trunk. But that is a mistake we're trying to correct right now. On these lower branches, I do see also growth happening, which is good. Hopefully now with the stunting of the growth in the top of the tree, we will see more of that happening down here. It looks a little bit, the leaves, that they also could use a little bit more nutrients, so I'm going to fertilize this also again more now that growth season is starting. Always a good sign and always a good thing to keep in mind. When spring comes and growth starts to happen, your tree needs more nutrients again to actually grow. In winter or in dormancy, you normally take it back a little bit when it comes to fertilizing, because you don't want to have a lot of fertilizer sitting in your soil that is unused. It will damage the roots. But now I can see, yes, those leaves definitely look like they could use a little bit more fertilizer again. So that's something with the next watering, a little bit of liquid fertilizer in there, and then continuously doing that over the next growth season, and this tree will bounce back quite nicely. Is there any other major thing that we want to correct on this tree right now that we have it? Of course, if you see any dead leaves, you can remove them now. It's always good to do this when you're working on your tree. Every couple of weeks, giving it simply a good look, seeing how we can improve this tree. The soil has been the same for roughly 1.5 to 2 years now, so this is maybe something that we also tackle in a couple of weeks. I wouldn't do it right now. Ficus growing indoors, I can also do it throughout the growth season without any problem. But that is definitely something I want to take a little bit of a look at in the next couple of weeks. Do we have to take this out? I also still have this in a somewhat inorganic-organic soil mixture, so there is some organic soil in here. Most of my other trees I have moved by now, so probably something this tree could benefit from in the future as well. But I think for now, main part here was to take off the wire, stunt the growth a little bit here in the top, and hopefully encouraging a little bit more balanced growth again in the future, especially here on those little side branches. That definitely wouldn't hurt the tree. So let's move on to a little bit of a project I have going on right now. It is a fusion project that you can probably spot right away. You can see here the wire that is attached. In here is actually 3 separate trees of this variegated ficus variety that I do enjoy quite a lot, because yeah, it's just a little fun thing on this tree, the variegation, that makes it also somewhat a little bit more special. So first thing I want to do, of course, is to check, is this wire starting to cut? It doesn't really seem like it. It's holding it together firmly. It doesn't have a lot of wiggle room in here, which is good, because of course we want this to fuse together. But it is the growth that will happen now over the next couple months that actually will be the deciding factor on how this fusion project will continue. Because if these are now starting to grow, and that also means we let this grow wildly, then we will start to see those 3 trees fused together. And that is something I'm really interested to see on this tree. The question is, do we still have to do anything else up here on this tree? Is there some faults, or again some dried leaves that we need to take out, or anything else that simply makes this tree grow in the desired way and as healthy as possible? We have this little branch down here. We could take care of this because it also has died back here a little bit, so we could take this out. It won't affect the overall strength of the growth down here at the trunk, so we can simply do that and remove that. The same probably here with this not too healthy looking branch. That won't affect the overall growth in any positive way. The important thing is that we don't cut anything back up here right now. I can see already a lot of new growth happening here. With this variegated variety, the leaves come in almost completely green. You can only see some lighter green areas around the leaves, and they will sooner or later then turn into this creamy white color, which is of course a quite cool feature on this tree. So I won't, as I said, cut back anything up here. We want to grow this wildly because of course with a lot of growth, the tree trunk will also get thicker, and this way we will make it very much crowded in here, and hopefully the tree is starting to fuse together then. So I think there's not much else we should do on this tree. I'm just checking if I see any health damages, any damaged leaves, any signs of any pests, but I don't see anything. We could probably give these leaves a little bit of a wipe, or I water it from the top then later on, meaning I really let the water wash through all of the leaves up here, remove any dust on the leaves, because this way of course also they can photosynthesize better, which means again more energy available for the tree, which means again more growth. But other than that, for now I think this tree is set up nicely for summer and for growth season, which already brings us to our last tree for today. And yes, this little tree is a project that I'm not quite sure yet in which direction I will take it. It has been growing in this pot now for, I think, almost 2 years. It is still basically a stick in a bonsai pot. It has been even a thinner stick in this bonsai pot 2 years ago. It is a propagation that I took from Ficus benjamina that I have potted up in a pot like this, and simply, like grown wildly and see in which direction it might take us in the future. What I have seen so far, yes, we have seen better growth and better thickness here on the trunk in comparison to 1 or 2 years ago. But we of course also now have to a little bit look into the shape of this tree. I can see a dead leaf still here. We take that off, it was already crunchy. But the problem I have with this tree right now is it is basically just some long shoots. You can see here, this is the side that wasn't visible or wasn't in the direction of the sunlight. This one was for the last couple of weeks, so of course this is where all the leaves are also pointing towards too. But nevertheless, what we want to achieve in this tree is a little bit of ramification. I started here in the middle, however, the growth then started to spread on all the other branches, because back in the day I only took out the leader but not all of the other branches there. I should have tip pruned as well to stunt the growth a little bit. And that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to take this down a little bit, remove the height probably again to half of this, because we want to work first of all on nice tapers. So of course we want this to thin out the higher we go up on the tree from the trunk. but we also want to work on ramification, and for that we have to prune back to parts where we already see woody bark. So for example here we already see woody bark, and also down here or back here I can see we already have done that at one point. Let me try to show you this, and we have some ramification here, but then this one leader took over almost completely, leaving no energy for this other one here, which has not really seen any growth since we did that. So let me get in here and take out most of this leather, of course a lot of healthy growth, but in the end for what we want to achieve we don't need just healthy growth that grows wild and free, we need to have some structure in this tree. This little side branch here is nice looking, but also a bit thin. I would take it back to 2 leaves maybe, which leaves us with 2 bigger branches still here. This is probably the current leader because it is the one that has grown the thickest, and that also means we have to stunt this one, of course. Let's start here, and you could even hear there is already some force when we cut in here with the secateurs, so there is already a lot of wood at work here in those branches. And this little one here in the back that I want to also take back a little bit. I see here a slight branching out happening, so I think we only take it back to here. And that removes a lot of height on this tree. You can see, let me show you, this is some of the other branches, but all of this is almost half of the foliage that we have taken out now, which serves the purpose of setting up this tree in a way that it can again grow a little bit more densely down here, start to ramify, start to also improve the taper a little bit, and overall this will benefit this tree quite tremendously, because here we still have the chance to really work on the secondary branch structure up here. That is something, of course, with a propagation that we took and then potted up, that we can really form this tree from the ground up, and that makes it so interesting in my opinion. It is of course a long-term project. As I said, for 2 years now there has not much happened other than a lot of growth we now took out again, but overall in the future this will mean that we will further and further improve this tree, also again with this growth season. And I think this is all the setup for the growth season that we can do. It is quite severe, but the growth will come back fast in this growth season. We might even have to prune it back again by the end of it or midway through, depending on how much energy this tree has and how much growth we will see. I will keep you updated on all of these 3 trees, how they're doing over growth season, when there are major events that we need to take care of. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you have any ideas yourself on these trees, of course, also feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you enjoy my channel, feel free to subscribe to it. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.